After completing the 26-row ferrule pattern, we knit 14 more rows. Now we can start dividing the collar. First, thread the middle 15 stitches of the collar with waste yarn. These are the 15 center stitches left for the collar. At this point, use the yarn tail from the scrap yarn to thread through them. Also thread this yarn tail from the sleeve side all the way to the collar side. When you reach this point, place a stitch marker on the next row below, which is 14 rows up from the ferrule pattern, where we started dividing the collar. Now begin collar bind off. For the collar, bind off 3 stitches once, then bind off 2 stitches twice every 2 rows, then bind off 1 stitch twice every 2 rows, then bind off 1 stitch twice every 4 rows. When the yarn tail reaches the collar side, turn your work over. We'll bind off these 3 stitches on the wrong side. To bind off, slip the first and second stitches, then lift the first stitch over the second stitch to bind off 1 stitch, then knit the next stitch. Then lift the next stitch over to bind off. Knit 2 stitches, then 1 more. This completes the first bind off of 3 stitches. Now knit toward the sleeve side. When reaching the sleeve side, turn your work to the right side and continue knitting. On the right side row, knit in knit stitch toward the collar side. When only 1 stitch remains near the collar side, slip the last stitch to the left needle without knitting it. Then turn to the wrong side, and bind off 1 stitch first. On this row, bind off 2 stitches, bind off 1 stitch, knit the next stitch, then bind off another stitch. Knit across to the sleeve side on the wrong side. Turn your work to the right side again. Now knit toward the collar side. When only 1 stitch remains, stop again and slip the last stitch over. We'll bind off 2 stitches once more, then turn to the wrong side. After slipping the first and second stitches, place the first stitch over the second, knit the third stitch, then slip the previous stitch over. Now back to knitting on the right side. Next, we'll decrease 1 stitch every 2 rows. For this decrease, work the bind off on the right side row. For the final decrease of 2 stitches every 4 rows, after completing it, knit across to the right side, until only 2 stitches remain near the collar side. Bind these 2 stitches together as one, then knit back from the wrong side. After knitting back from the wrong side, turn to the right side again. When only 2 stitches remain at the needle tail, bind them off. After finishing the final 2-stitch decrease every 4 rows on the collar side, 17 stitches remain on the shoulder. Then knit up 9 more rows. When we start knitting upwards from the collar division point, we should knit 27 rows instead of the calculated 28 rows. Since flat knitting creates a 1-row difference on both sides, I stop at row 27 with the yarn tail on the collar side. Next, we'll work short rows for the sloping shoulder. Divide these 17 stitches into 3 short rows, first 5 stitches, then 6 stitches, and finally another 6 stitches, 5-6-6 pattern. First, turn to the wrong side. Knit from the collar side toward the sleeve side until 6 stitches remain. Stop here, move 5 stitches to the center, then turn the workpiece and place the stitch marker on your yarn. The short row technique is the same as our previous curved short rows. Slip the first stitch without knitting, then wrap the stitch marker inside the yarn, and continue knitting toward the collar side. After completing one short row, stop at the 6 stitches near the sleeve side, leaving them unworked, then repeat. This time, we're leaving 5 stitches in the middle section. Now knit 6 stitches across. After knitting 6 stitches, add another stitch marker, then turn the workpiece. When on the right side, place a marker on the yarn, slip the first stitch without knitting, wrap the marker inside the yarn, and knit the next few stitches. Now the 3 short rows for the sloping shoulder are complete. The next row is the decrease row. Knit the first 6 stitches. Pick up the stitch from the marker, and knit it together with the previous stitch. This completes one decrease. Repeat, knit the 5 stitches before the marker, then pick up the stitch from the marker, and knit it together with the previous stitch. This completes the shoulder short rows and the sloping shoulder decreases. Remove the stitch marker, and finish the sleeve on the right side. You can cut the yarn here, no need for a long yarn tail. Next, work on the left side of the collar. Start decreasing for the left collar. Pick up a new yarn tail, since we're on the right side, begin decreasing immediately. Slip the first 3 stitches together. 1 stitch. 2 stitches. 3 stitches. After completing these 3 stitches, continue knitting to this side, then work the wrong side row to finish this round trip. When reaching the needle tip on the wrong side with 1 stitch remaining, move that stitch to the right needle, then turn to the right side. The decreasing method here differs from the right side. Right side decreases happen on the wrong side, while left side decreases occur on the right side. Mark the row below where we started the 3-stitch decrease. This marking will help count rows later, when we finish the collar and prepare for the sloping shoulder. Now we need to decrease 2 stitches here. First slip 2 stitches, then lift the back stitch over the front one to decrease 1 stitch. Knit the next stitch, then decrease again. This completes the 2-stitch decrease. Continue knitting to the other side, then stop when reaching the wrong side. When working the wrong side row near the collar with 1 stitch remaining, slip that stitch. On the right side, perform the second 2-stitch decrease. We've completed all multi-stitch decreases. The 3-stitch, 2-stitch, and another 2-stitch decreases are done. Next comes decreasing 1 stitch every 2 rows, twice. For the left front piece, we decrease on the wrong side. This decrease involves taking 2 stitches from the back of the left needle, and working them as one. This creates a matching edge line, that aligns with the other side. One decrease is completed. Next, finish another decrease of 1 stitch every 2 rows, followed by decreasing 1 stitch every 4 rows, twice. After completing these, we'll proceed with the short rows for the sloping shoulder. On the left side, after knitting 28 rows from the 3-stitch decrease row at the neckline division, we begin the shoulder short rows. These short rows start from the right side. We knit 6 stitches first, then 5 stitches. When 6 stitches remain on the left needle, turn the work and place a stitch marker on the yarn. Slip the first stitch without knitting, then wrap the stitch marker with yarn and knit the second stitch. Gently tighten the yarn tail slightly. This completes one short row. Using this short row technique creates a slight slope on the shoulder, lower near the sleeve side and higher near the collar side. After knitting the first 6 stitches, we turn the piece. Place a stitch marker on the yarn. Slip the first stitch without knitting, then wrap the stitch marker with yarn and knit the second stitch. After completing the short rows, we proceed with the wrap and turn decrease. Pick up the stitch marked by the stitch marker, and combine it with the previous stitch. I'm using stitch markers for the short rows here to make it visually clearer. You can also use German short rows. You can use wrap and turn or Japanese short rows. Another wrap and turn decrease. Once the wrap and turn decreases are finished, the front piece is almost complete. Cut the yarn here. Then tidy up the yarn tails on the diamond pattern, making sure to weave in all ends properly. Next, there's a section that needs to be sewn with single strand. After completing these steps, the front piece is done. Now we'll move on to knitting the back piece. The back piece is essentially the front piece split in half, with a narrow front band in the middle. The front piece started with 143 stitches, but the back piece has a small front band in the center, so we need to subtract the stitches for this band. We'll subtract 3 stitches for the small front band, leaving 140 stitches. Divided by 2, that's 70 stitches per side. For the ribbing, we'll allocate 70 stitches on each side. Since it's single rib stitch, to maintain symmetrical pattern on both sides we need to add 1 stitch, so we'll cast on 71 stitches for the back piece ribbing. The casting on method for the ribbing is the same as the previous casting on method. After casting on, work 28 rows, which equals 6 centimeters. After completing these rows, bind off and switch to larger needles. Starting from row 28, decrease 1 stitch every 6 stitches. Decrease to 59 stitches since we'll have 119 stitches at the top. Adding one front band stitch, each side has one less stitch than the front piece, and with 3 seam stitches, the actual middle front band is 4 stitches wide. After finishing the ribbing section, we'll bind off to 59 stitches, then begin short rows. Next, we'll do the curved short rows. Since there are 2 back pieces, I'll place them like this for better clarity. The curved short rows mean the underarm side is lower while the center side is higher, creating a curve in the hem. Before starting the curved short rows, we'll first mark the underarm side with stitch markers to indicate where the short rows begin. For my sweater, the front piece has 2 short rows of 10 stitches each. I'll place 2 stitch markers on the underarm side, marking 10 stitches each time. After placing markers on this side, I'll do the same on the other side. I'll also place 2 stitch markers here, 10 stitches each. Since the back piece is worked in separate sections, we'll start by knitting this piece first. The yarn tail is on our left side, so we'll work this row from the wrong side. We bind off the first row, but don't start short rows immediately after binding off. Ignoring our stitch markers, we'll carry the yarn over and work this entire row first. After binding off, work a wrong side row, then turn to the right side. The stitch marker near the underarm is on the left side, while this side is near the front band, so we'll work from the front band side. Work past the first stitch marker. When reaching the underarm side, the first stitch marker marks where we leave 10 stitches unworked. Remove the stitch marker, don't work these stitches, and turn the work piece. After turning, we'll make a short row toward the front band side. First, slip the first stitch with yarn over the marker. The first stitch is slipped without working. Work the second stitch, incorporating the stitch marker inside. Work the wrong side row, then proceed to the right side row. We're working again from the front band side toward the underarm side. At the underarm side, before the 20th stitch, which is where the second stitch marker is, after leaving 10 stitches unworked the first time, and another 10 stitches the second time, total 20 stitches, stop and turn the work piece, leaving these 20 stitches unworked. Reattach the stitch marker to the yarn, slip the first stitch without working, then work the second stitch. Now the 2 short rows are complete, and you can clearly see the underarm side is lower while the front band side is higher. Then proceed with decreasing rows. Work until reaching the stitch marker position, which is before the 20th stitch at the underarm side. Pick up the stitch on the marker, and the first stitch before the 20th stitch, then knit these 2 stitches together. Place the stitch from the marker to the wrong side. Now we'll do another decreasing row here. Place the stitch from the marker onto the stitch in front. The short rows on the left side back body are complete. Now we need to work the short rows on the other side. After completing the short rows on the left side, we move to the right side short rows. After switching needles on the right side, the yarn tail is already at the front band side, so we can start short rows directly from the wrong side, without working an extra row like the other side. Therefore, after finishing the bind off row, we can begin short rows on the second row. Here we work the first short row on the wrong side row, using the same method as the other side. Work to 10 stitches before the underarm side, and stop for the first short row. Then return to the position for the second short row, at 20 stitches before the underarm side, do another short row, and after completing both short rows, proceed with decreasing rows. After both sides short rows are complete, meaning both sides have been worked to where the armhole bind off begins, we stop here while working plain stitches in the middle. I won't demonstrate this again since the front body was already demonstrated. If you're unsure how to work short rows on the wrong side, refer to the short row method used on the front body. Work from the front band side on the wrong side row. Work to 10 stitches before this marker, leave 10 stitches unworked at the underarm side, then turn the work. Switch needles here. Leave these 10 stitches unworked at the underarm side, place the marker on the yarn, slip the first stitch without working, work the second stitch. Work to the front band side, stop here, then turn the work. Now work from the front band side toward the underarm. Work on the wrong side row. Work to before this marker again, we left 20 stitches at the underarm side, then stop, and turn the work. Place this marker on the yarn. Slip the first stitch without working, work the second stitch with the marker wrapped inside the yarn. Both short rows are completed. Next, work the wrong side row to decrease the short rows. On the wrong side row, work to 20 stitches before the short row marker and stop. Pick up the stitch on the marker, and knit it together with the first stitch on the left needle. One decrease row is done. This is the second decrease row. Continue knitting downward. The short rows on this side are also finished. Now, for both back pieces, when you've worked 78 rows up from the armhole, prepare to bind off for the back neck opening. Currently, both pieces have been worked up to 78 rows. According to the chart, it should be 24 centimeters after 76 rows here. Because this vest has very few shoulder stitches, only 17 stitches here. These 17 stitches are divided into 3 short rows, but there are actually only 2 short rows, so only 4 rows here. This shoulder slope short row only has 4 rows, which is less than 6 centimeters, so we'll add those missing 2 rows to make it 8 centimeters here. Originally, it should be 76 rows plus the 2 missing rows from the shoulder slope short row, so we need to work 78 rows on the back piece before doing the shoulder slope short row and binding off for the back neck opening. Now both pieces have reached 78 rows. Let's start with the right piece to bind off for the back neck opening while doing the shoulder slope short row. From where we bound off for the armhole, we previously placed a stitch marker, and now we've worked 78 rows. Now begin binding off for the back neck opening. The back neck opening bind off happens right here where we need to decrease. First, bind off 2 stitches, then 1 stitch. The shoulder has 17 stitches left, which includes the 17 stitches plus the 3 bound off stitches. Now we'll knit 20 stitches from the sleeve side toward the middle. After knitting 20 stitches, leave these stitches unworked and turn the work piece. On the wrong side row, we'll first bind off 2 stitches. 1 stitch. 2 stitches. The stitches left here are for the back neck opening position. Half of this piece is left, and the other half will be left on the other piece later. After binding off 2 stitches, we'll knit toward the sleeve side. For the shoulder slope, its short rows of 6, 5, and 6 stitches 3 times. We'll stop when there are 6 stitches left on the sleeve side, and begin the short rows. Leave 6 stitches, then turn the work piece. First, place a stitch marker on the yarn. Slip the first stitch without knitting, knit the second stitch. Now knit from this side. At the neck opening, we'll bind off 1 stitch. So we've bound off 3 stitches for the back neck opening, then turn over and do another short row. For this short row, leave 5 stitches in the middle with 6 stitches on each side. Turn the work piece again. Place another stitch marker and do the short row. Now there are 2 stitch markers here, meaning we've done 2 short rows. Last row for decreasing. When you reach this point, the right side of the back piece is done. Then pick up the front piece. Align it properly. Match it with the shoulder on this side. Sew the loops on both needles together, and you can remove this stitch marker. For this sewing, I suggest not using the original needle. Use a 5 mm needle, either 5.0 or 5.5 is fine. With the wrong sides facing out, place the 2 needles parallel, then use the 5.0 needle to knit 2 stitches together for the first stitch, and finish this row. Using the 5.0 needle, knit 2 stitches together. After finishing the decreases, there are yarn tails on both sides. You can sew from right to left or left to right. I'll start sewing from this side first. Use the crochet hook to pull through the front loop. This method creates very even stitches. It won't be too tight on one side and too loose on the other, as sometimes happens during crocheting. When sewing like that, it's either too tight or too loose, which is hard to control. After using the larger hook to decrease 2 stitches into one, pull it through. The stitches will look as neat as those made by a sewing machine. Then you can cut the yarn tail. There are yarn tails on both sides. You can sew from right to left or left to right. Secure it well, and weave in the yarn tails. This side is done. Now we'll move to the other side. The yarn tail on the left side is near the middle, so we need to work one more row here. From the armhole to this point, we've completed 78 rows. The left piece has one extra row compared to the right piece, so we'll work that additional row first. The left side has 79 rows from the armhole to here, totaling 79 completed rows, one more than the right, before starting the short rows for the sloping shoulder. Begin from the sleeve side toward the neck opening. We'll also work 20 stitches on the back neck side. After working 20 stitches on the right side row, bind off 2 stitches first. 1 stitch. 2 stitches. After binding off 2 stitches, continue working until 6 stitches remain on the sleeve side, then turn the workpiece to begin the first short row. Place the stitch marker on this yarn. Bring the first stitch over without knitting it, then knit the second stitch. When you reach here, slip the last 2 stitches at the neck opening together through the back loop as one stitch. Bind off 3 stitches at the neck opening, then we'll do another short row. Work 6 stitches first. Stop again before the 5th stitch. Place the stitch marker. The last row is for decreasing. Slip the first stitch without knitting it. Knit until you reach just before the stitch marker. Pick up the stitch on the marker and the stitch before it, then knit them together as one. Continue working forward to the previous stitch marker, pick up the stitch on the marker and the stitch before it, and knit them together as one. Now we've finished this row of decreasing. Next, sew the front and back bodies together using the same sewing method as the left side, so I won't repeat it. Once both front and back bodies are sewn together, we'll move on to knitting the collar. After finishing the collar, we'll knit the back button bands. Before starting the collar, use a slightly thinner circular needle to pick up 1 stitch with waste yarn along the neckline, beginning from the left back body to adjust. We originally left 15 stitches on the left back body because the stitch density for the garment differs from that of the ribbing, so we need to add 2 extra stitches here. First, mark it with waste yarn, then add 1 stitch, when working 5 stitches. This is just to mark the stitch count for the collar. Now we've reached the bind-off area at the back neck opening. Here, after binding off 2 stitches, pick up 3 stitches over those 2 stitches, then at the place where you decrease 1 stitch every 2 stitches, pick up 2 stitches. After skipping 1 stitch, pick up stitches continuously. Then skip 1 stitch and continue picking up. Now we have 8 stitches picked up at the back neck opening. We picked up 8 stitches here, and we'll also pick up 8 stitches on the right side, then move to the front body. At this part where we worked even on the front body, the gap is quite loose, so we'll pick up one stitch right in the middle. Now we're at the front body area, where we worked even for a distance. First, pick up 4 stitches continuously, making sure to pick up through the second stitch from the edge. Don't pick up through the first edge stitch, and don't pick up an extra stitch between 2 large loops. Since the knitting trace of the second edge stitch isn't very neat, we'll pick up only the front loop of the second stitch, leaving the back loop, which creates a cleaner appearance. This will make the finished collar look more professional. After picking up 4 stitches continuously, skip 1 row without picking up, skip 1 row without picking up, then continue picking up, pick up 4 stitches continuously again. Skip another row without picking up. Skipping a row makes the picked up stitches stand out clearly. Continue in sequence until reaching the area where we decrease 1 stitch every 2 rows. Each large loop corresponds to 2 rows here. We pick up 1 stitch per row, meaning 2 stitches are picked up from 1 large loop. 2 stitches picked up from 1 large loop. Specifically, 2 stitches are picked up through the second stitch, from the edge within 1 large loop. Now we've reached the bind off section, where 2 stitches are bound off. We'll pick up 3 stitches here, then again pick up 3 stitches at the next bind off section. Now at the bind off section, where 3 stitches are bound off, we'll pick up 4 stitches. After following this picking up pattern, count the stitches to ensure both sides have identical stitch counts. Now we've reached the middle section, where we still need to place the stitches onto the straight needle. Because when knitting the collar, we use finer needles in the middle area. The density of the body differs from the collar, so we need to increase 2 stitches when knitting the collar. Since we left 15 stitches in the middle, the increase happens every 5 stitches, increase 1 stitch after 5. After 5 stitches, first increase 1 stitch, then knit 5 more, then increase another stitch. Originally we left 15 stitches when starting, so this position should have 17 stitches arranged. The other side follows the same picking up method to maintain identical stitch counts on both sides, then add 2 more stitches at the back neck opening. Now we've completed picking up all stitches around the collar. We picked up 45 stitches on each side, 45 on the left and 45 on the right. Plus the 15 reserved stitches at the back neck opening, which becomes 17 after adding 2 stitches. 2 sides of 17 stitches make 34, plus the 15 middle stitches plus 2 increases, plus another 17, totaling 141 stitches around the collar. For these 141 stitches, we'll use the same cast-on method as the ribbed hem, the machine edge technique, to cast on 141 stitches for knitting the collar. After picking up 141 stitches around the collar, we'll reference the ribbed cast-on method again to cast on 140 stitches using those picked up stitches. When working the last row of the ribbing, increase to 141 stitches. The finished collar measures 4.2 centimeters. The collar can be 4 to 4.2 centimeters. It's fine because the collar has elasticity. When it's scrunched up like this, it looks about 4.4 centimeters, but when stretched out, it's actually around 4 centimeters. These 4 centimeters were worked over 20 rows. I started with 2.5 mm needles for 16 rows, then switched to 2.75 mm needles for 4 more rows. Now the yarn tail is on this side. When sewing the collar, you should sew the 2 edge knit stitches on this side to the right side, or you can sew it this way too. Then on this row, we'll work 1 row with the larger hook. You need to work this row on the side that will be the right side of the collar. I plan to use the side with 2 knit stitches at the edge as the right side. So on this row, I'll switch to the larger hook, and work 1 row of knit stitches. This row of knit stitches is worked on the right side row, and this side should show the appearance of a purl row. I'll show you the effect after working it. Now we're working this row with the larger hook, which will position as the right side of the collar. This row appears as a purl row, because we worked a knit row on the wrong side with the larger hook, which shows as purl stitches on the right side. This row worked with the larger hook will be our sewing row. After completing these preparations, we'll place it on the garment piece. We'll start sewing from the right side, aligning the larger hook row parallel with the waste yarn row. We'll insert the crochet hook through the first stitch on the garment. Then pull through the next stitch worked with the larger hook. Then the second stitch. Pull the stitch from the larger hook row through the garment stitch, and make a slip stitch with the next stitch. Third stitch. Fourth stitch. We've sewn 5 stitches here. Now at the marked spot, where we need to increase, first remove the yarn tail. At the increase spot, pick up the strand between the 2 stitches. Then twist it with the crochet hook, pull through the stitch on the larger hook row, and slip stitch to the back, overlapping with the previous stitch. This completes 1 increase stitch. Continue, pull through the garment stitch, then the stitch on the larger hook row, and make a slip stitch. Including this stitch on the larger hook row, pull through both stitches together. Now we've reached the increase spot again, remove the waste yarn. Pick up the strand in the middle here, twist it, then pull through the stitch from the larger hook row. After this twisted increase, there won't be any small holes created here. If you just pull through without twisting, it would create a hole like a buttonhole. The purpose of twisting here is to make it flatter. Okay, continue crocheting. The back neck opening has stitches left from before. I suggest leaving these stitches for the back neck opening on the hook, don't sew them. When attaching the collar, there will be 2 strands created, so we'll keep these stitches on their original loops. Pull it a bit more. Now we're at the spot where we picked up with waste yarn, insert the hook directly, where we picked up the waste yarn. Then remove the waste yarn. Crochet over the stitch on the larger hook. Since we marked the spot when picking up the waste yarn, we'll insert the hook there again. After inserting the hook, remove the waste yarn, then sew together with the stitch on the larger hook, pick up the waste yarn, insert through the stitch where we picked up, then pull out the waste yarn, sew it together with the next stitch. Pull the waste yarn, insert the crochet hook into the loop where we picked up, then remove the waste yarn. Crochet it over, doing it stitch by stitch like this prevents mistakes. Once you're comfortable with this technique, I'll pick up 5 stitches ahead on this row. After 5 stitches, remember we've removed 5 stitches, so I'll pick up 5 stitches when going back. 1 stitch. 2 stitches. 3 stitches. 4 stitches. 5 stitches. Once you get more comfortable with this, you can slightly pick up a few more stitches. Here we pick up 4 stitches, then pick them back up 4 stitches here. Use this method to sew the collar all the way to the other side.